we're gonna need people like you, AJ, that have experience. So.
All right.
All right.
Mike?
Announcements, tips, photos. Any announcements? Anyone?
I just have a comment. If you're looking for a good video editor, there's one called Shotcut, SHOTCUT, and it's free. And it's really excellent. There's a bit of a learning curve, but once you learn how to use it, it's fantastic. So
Okay.
keep that in mind, I guess.
Any other announcements? Chris, there was a comment in an email about your publication. You want to mention that?
Yes, and I won't answer that phone. I apologize. It's across the room. My photographs are featured on the Farrington website newsletter called the Balti Gazette. And I was proud to have 6 of them there, and you can see them if you live here in Farrington. If not, I'd be happy to send it to you, the link to you. Also, just as a comment about links, the HTML version, the link to my website, which has been launched by myself and Bill, who let the cat out of the bag last week, and is not functional on the HTML version of the newsletter, which was sent out. But the, I call it JPEG, but I guess it's not that. The other version, PDF version, is in fact working. So the link to the website, which is quite extensive and even has some poems up there. If you want to read my poems, I'd be delighted to hear from you.
Okay. Well, congratulations, Chris.
Well, thank you. Leslie, I will say, if you're interested, Leslie Palmer is the photo editor of the Balti Gazette. It goes out to 3,000 people here in Farrington. If you live here, she's real easy to reach, and she doesn't have a long list of photographers who want to put their find representative photos of their portfolio up on the newsletter. So I'll be happy to give you more information if you're interested.
Okay, thanks, Chris.
All
Any
right.
other announcements? All right, tips and tricks. If I had known what I'm about to say a week ago or 2 weeks ago when we had our meeting, I would have certainly shared it. But I didn't know this until about 5 minutes before this meeting started. Last meeting, Bill talked about exposure compensation. And today is to be a follow-up on that. But before we get to the follow-up, I'll tell you what I learned 5 minutes ago. And it has to do with exposure compensation on the iPhone. This falls under the category of who knew. I think there are a lot of tools in the new iPhone software that I haven't discovered. Maybe Mike Blotzer has or others have, but I didn't know about this. But it is possible to do exposure compensation like Bill talked about on the iPhone. And I don't know that running through the drill is worth it, but I will send a link to the article that I found. I won't do it during this meeting, but I'll send it out with a review of the meeting and the posting of the video of this meeting. But it's pretty cool It works.
Hey, Mike, is that the same as shift focus, which I emailed you about when I sent in my photos?
You know, Chris, I
Shift
was going to
focus.
follow up on that, the shift focus thing, and I'm sorry I didn't.
That's
I
okay.
don't
You're not
think it-
talking about that when you say exposure compensation.
Um,
They're not the same.
okay, okay. And
I'm not telling you, I'm asking you.
oh, I don't know. I was negligent in my intent to follow up on the link you sent. I just didn't do it, so I don't know. But I'll look. But the exposure compensation works on iPhones 11 and later. So it doesn't
I'm
have-
sorry.
11 and
one more
later?
question.
11.
One more question.
Yes.
The question is, shift focus has to do with depth of field. And that's what I'm talking about. And you can push a button and alter the depth of field in a way on the 13. And that's new to 13 that you can't do on the previous iPhones. And
Okay.
trying to get depth of field manually is a pain in the ass and almost impossible.
Mhm.
There
Okay.
you go.
I have a question. My mother just found an old film camera, a Canon, that's probably was manufactured in the 1950s. It has Japan on it. Is it still possible to get film?
If it's
Yes.
30, if it's 35 millimeter, yes.
Yes, but yeah,
Yeah.
okay,
I have
just curious.
film cameras that date back at least that far. And if it's 35 millimeter or medium format, you'll find film for it.
Okay, great, thanks. I might need some more tutoring on how to use it, but
Yeah, I'd be happy to
it's been so
help.
long since I used a film camera.
Oh,
camera-
come on, stick with the digital.
Yeah, but this one's free.
The camera shop in Scarborough,
Yeah, they have a lot of old cameras there.
yeah, and they
Film.
sell film and they do I know they do black and white processing there. I don't know about color,
Okay.
but
Well, I'll keep you guys posted on my adventure with the camera if it ever
Yeah.
happens.
Well, onward and upward. The follow-up on exposure compensation was bracketing. And I'm going to confess that I have had my digital camera set up this way for a long, long time, even a film camera set up to bracket. And when I sat down to try and get some notes together about how to, I had to go back and relearn it. I'd completely forgotten what the steps were. The steps were on my camera and I never had need to change them. So I had a little panic this morning. We've talked about exposure compensation versus bracketing, and I want to try to clarify a little bit of what's in my mind when I talk about bracketing. The difference between compensation and bracketing is in one big way, manual versus automatic. If you use exposure compensation, you have to turn a knob to either overexpose or underexpose. And you can do it multiple times, but whatever it involves, in my judgment, my view, what I know, turning a knob on the camera. Bracketing is more automatic, and for that reason, it's a whole lot faster. And when it comes to using one versus the other, the wisdom is that if you are pretty sure you've nailed the exposure, but you just want to tweak it a tiny bit, compensation is the way to go. If you aren't sure about what the right exposure is, bracketing is probably the way to go. If you're in a circumstance where you need to do something in motion, sports, wildlife, etc., bracketing's not going to help you because the subject's not stationary. You dial in a compensation and shoot it, and you're done. But on the other hand, if you're shooting architecture or static subject, and you're not really clear about what the right exposure should be, bracketing is the way to go. And it used to be on film cameras, bracketing was expensive because instead of taking one frame, you're shooting 3 or 5 or 9. And you know, if you're shooting a roll of 36 exposures, which is common for 35 millimeter, your roll of film is gone in one great big hurry. But with digital, it costs you nothing to take extra shots, absolutely nothing, other than maybe the expense of another SD or compact flash card. But those things have gotten ridiculously cheap too. So
Right.
as I've said, my cameras are all set up to bracket. That doesn't mean it's turned on, but it's set up to do it if I want to do it. And what I'm
Mike,
going to do is
Mike, may I interrupt, please? I am
Go ahead.
terribly sorry. As maybe the only strictly iPhone guy here,
No,
my concern has always been that I don't understand your lingo, and I don't get much out of these sessions because it's not defined what you're talking about. So I don't understand what bracketing is, and I don't understand what exposure compensation is. And there are two choices. You can either explain them, and I would urge you to do that in the future, or I can push the button and go do my crossword puzzle because this is not helping me.
Yeah.
Actually, there's another option, Chris, too. I just was looking up on my iPhone to see how iPhone handles bracketing. And there's a nice video that explains exactly what that stuff is on YouTube that one can look at. And I think there's a lot of resources that for the iPhone people, for all of us, to translate this stuff. I mean, most of it we're not going to use anyway.
What is it though, Betty? That's the point. We're talking about something that I don't even have a definition for.
all right. Let me
It's a way
try
of-
again, Chris. Let me try again. And I'm sorry if we jumped too far ahead. Last week's meeting, Bill talked about exposure compensation. And I've pointed out at the beginning of this meeting or this section that there is exposure compensation that's available on the iPhone. Betty may have pointed to something else that's available, but exposure compensation is nothing more than making an adjustment to either allow more light into your phone or less light into your phone. And the sliding scale that you can get to in the video I'll send out allows you to underexpose or overexpose a picture that when you first see it, after you take the one that you think is right, and it looks either too light or too dark, you can change the amount of light that the camera is going to let in by letting more light in, by letting less light in. Now, I don't know, and Betty may have already answered the question for you. Bracketing is exposure compensation done automatically. It is getting more light in and less light into the camera without you having to do anything other than push the shutter button or the button on the phone that takes the picture. And if there's a way of doing bracketing on the phone, Betty, I think, has found that's possible. And all I know at this point of my own experience is that exposure compensation is possible on an iPhone. More light, less light. To get a phone or to get a phone photo that looks like it should in terms of the light coming in. And when you get to
Okay.
bracketing, as I said, the deal with bracketing is that it allows you to take the overexposed, the more light, the underexposed. Well, that's it. Just said it backwards. Bracketing allows you to let more light in and less light in without having to do anything other than hitting the shutter button. And I started to say that,
And that
I cannot tell you how every single camera that you have is going to work with bracketing or how to set it up. I had to go back and relearn this morning by reading my manual, how to do it. All I can offer to do is, if you want to set it up and you've tried looking at your manual and can't find it, or can't find it and follow it, or can find it and follow it, I'll be happy to bring your manual up on my screen and see if I can't figure it out with you. I can tell you exactly how to do it on Nikon cameras, but I know not everybody shoots Nikon. And so I don't know that doing a tutorial on setting it up on a Nikon is really worthwhile. And I would suggest that it is a good way to make sure in a quick way that you have a more properly exposed image. And if that's tweaked your interest in doing it, then call me or email me or dig your manual out and figure it out. Especially when I think that I know that Bill shoots Nikon. Who shoots Canon? I know Betty has a
I do.
Canon. Frank does.
I got Canon.
Yeah,
Sony, I have so,
yeah, and Sony.
Yeah, I have a
Sony's
Canon
another
too.
option.
One thing I was gonna say that maybe would make it sort of easy for Chris to understand is, if you think of exposure compensation, it's at 0, okay? Whatever you're shooting is 0, and then you shift it down 1 or up 1 to change it either dark or light. Where bracketing, you're taking multiple photographs of the same thing, but it's a different, quickly, and then
One,
different.
one press of a button.
Right.
That's, I think, key as
Yeah.
well too. You set up a bracketing so it takes what it thinks is a good picture, one that's underexposed, one that's over, just by pressing a button one time. So you have 3 of them or more to choose from.
and
Well,
on
on the iPhone, I believe that a lot of that is taken care of in the manufacture of the instrument. But if you are not happy with the exposure, you can easily adjust it in the editing process. But it does sound like what you're talking about is interesting for what you shoot. All I ask is definitions of what you're talking about before we start these sessions, so that I can follow along and not have to do my crossword puzzle.
I'd like to add one more
I don't want you
thing.
to do your crossword puzzle.
3 down, 3 down.
On the iPhone, the iPhone has it set up where it takes those 3 pictures, a light one, a dark one, and a middle one, and then automatically merges it all together to improve the one that you would be automatically taking.
There you
AR. So it is a really quick, quick and dirty way sometimes when you've got tricky lighting to, get better and more from the camera if necessary.
And Chris, I'll add to that. Yes, the iPhone will take multiple pictures in the live mode.
Right.
Live mode is basically a video of a bunch of frames, one after the other. And you can go through those frames to see which one of the video frames is the best composition, etc. But the live photo or video actually is not going to change exposure unless you're tracking the victim or the victim. There's
Right, right.
Like a paparazzi.
Okay, this is about street photography, and we're talking about tracking victims. If you track a subject from a light area to a dark area, well, then probably the camera's going to adjust for that. But if the background, if the lighting doesn't change, you're not going to get different exposures. It's going to be the same exposure. Whereas,
Got it. I do understand that. I do use live photo a lot because I have a dog. And the dog has 4 legs, and what you want to do is catch the dog at a point where the paw is sticking out rather than 4 legs soldered to the ground. And so I use it in that regard. And I think the compensation issue is one that, the iPhone is going to continue to improve on. I don't want to be the guy who's plugging a dead horse or a live horse here, but iPhone is improving with every issuance of every camera that they make, which of course becomes very expensive. But hey, sure beats carrying 15 pounds around your neck.
Can we move on to the how to use it on the DSLRs for the majority of us?
Yeah, I just want to tell Chris
Okay.
that there are a lot of us that use iPhones and some of us that only use iPhones. So you're not alone in that. So don't feel like you are.
I feel like I'm very present and with you all the way.
Okay.
and Helen, let me say that I had it laid out, but as I've even before this meeting started, I found some wisdom in just trying to tweak your interest in doing it, and then relying on your manual or me or Bill or Frank or AJ or Betty representing different camera groups to help get the camera set up. But basically on the Nikon, it's a matter of getting into the menus. And on a Nikon, there is a category of menu items called custom settings. And it is in that menu item, custom settings, that you set up, for the most part, the bracketing. Every camera has a function button, and on the icon, on the Nikon, pressing that function button brings up on your small screen at the top of your camera, brings up a little scale, and using the control knobs on the front and the back of the camera around where the shutter release is, you change how many exposures you want, you change how far apart those exposures are, or to use Bill's terminology for compensation, whether you want the right exposure according to the camera's meter, one more higher exposure letting more light in, one negative exposure letting less light in, or 3 or 5 or 7 or 9 or even upward in some cameras. And one part of what Bill said, and then we'll move, Leslie.
I'm sorry. When you have exposure compensation or bracketing and you let more light in, is it the shutter speed that changes, or is it the f-stop
Capture.
changes?
Yep.
Or is it both?
Oh,
Shutter speed. Well, if you have your camera set up for aperture priority, then the shutter speed will change.
Okay.
And that's really what you want.
Okay.
Yeah, you can do it by shutter. You can do it by white balance. There's many different ways to do it, but don't let that confuse you.
Okay.
Aperture priority will allow the shutter speed to change, and there's more flexibility. You'll fall into less dark holes by using aperture priority.
Thank you.
Yeah, because you don't want 3 exposures that might have different depth of fields.
Right.
So shutter is the best.
Thank you.
And let me
Sorry to
hit
interrupt.
one other thing that relates both to bracketing and to a comment Bill made a minute ago about one click of the shutter. One part of bracketing is simplification, and on most, I don't know that it's on every, but on most contemporary DSLRs, you can change the way the shutter works. It either works slowly or it works fast, or it does videos. On the Nikon, on the left-hand side, there is a control dial, and there is a designation CH for continuous high, CL for continuous low. And if you put a DSLR on continuous high and click the shutter, this is 3 frames. This is what you get. Did you hear that?
Mhm.
I don't know where my microphone is. That's three clicks. Click, click, click.
Yep.
Multiple frames per second. So we started simple, or more or less simple, with exposure compensation. This added automatic to it, simplicity to it. Next meeting, if we stick to the plan, is rolling exposures into one, or HDR. And that is something that is possible, as has been said already today, both on DSLRs and on iPhones or Androids, I'm assuming. So hopefully there will be something there for both groups. Well, if I can do it, let us get into the photos.
So one other quick question about bracketing.
Oops.
Can it's fine, you can do that.
No,
Can
go
you hear
ahead,
me, Mike?
go ahead. I thought I was
Yeah,
doing.
is bracketing basically automatic? Is bracketing basically automatic compensation?
Absolutely. Now you set the parameters,
Okay,
how many frames,
right.
how much difference between the frames. But once you push the
So it's
shutter,
basically, yeah,
it's going to do it. You don't have to touch a knob.
got it. Okay.
I have a quick question. So Mike, can you explain again the continuous high and continuous low? What is, explain
It's-
that a little bit?
It is how fast the shutter clicks between shots. And you can set, and I left this out and trying to hurry through. You can set it for a single click. You can set it for multiple clicks that happen slowly. Click, click, click. That's CL on my camera, on an Nikon. You can set it for continuous high, CH on my camera, which is not click, 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 but it is click, click, click. That's the difference between shutter speed.
Okay. So what would that, how would that change what you were photographing, or? I mean, in other
Well,
words, would it?
It would better freeze action. If you want to try and stack photographs in HDR, put 3 exposures together in one, taking them quickly will get rid of some movement in the picture. Taking it slow, the wind may blow the branch. The person may take another step. But continuous high is, I think, the easiest. And the other thing about continuous high is that even if you are not really interested in combining photos later, continuous high will let you handhold pictures that otherwise might require a tripod. You took a picture of the inside of the Duke Chapel and they wouldn't let you use a tripod. And the only way I got 3 exposures that I could use was by using continuous high shutter speed and bracing myself the best I could.
Okay, thank you.
Okay, are you seeing my screen?
How many
Yes.
images do we have?
Enough that we're going to skip the first 2 because Mark's not here. We'll come back to him if there's, there were 14, now 12. And let me go to full page. Okay. Bill.
Okay, I had to go to the archives, so I'll admit that. What we have here is not just a person, but we have people.
Yeah,
This was at a May Day parade in Bordeaux, France.
Ah,
As you can see, the yellow jackets in the back there, they're the, I guess, the ultra liberal type people. And there seems to be one guy in the center here that probably doesn't agree with them very much. And I've tried to crop this different ways, but just looking at all the people around him, it seems like almost everybody is focused in around this activity. You know, everywhere from the far right top where the gentleman's with his arm looking out. So yeah, this has a lot of people paying attention to what's going on. And I had just climbed on top of a wall to just get above the crowd a little bit.
yeah.
And this just happened. Now, I took it at 1/50th of a second, which was a little on the slow side for movement. But I think that almost added to it.
Yeah.
You know, when you start looking closer at his hand on the other guy's chest, you know, you can see that there was movement involved. It wasn't just static. So,
Yeah, plus the guy down on the lower left
yep.
looks a little like he's moving. He's moving at where everybody else is kind of standing still, watching the activity going on.
Yeah.
And was that center guy, was he trying to stop that guy from coming into him, or?
Well, I didn't get in the middle of them, and since I didn't
Yeah.
speak French, they do have their differences of opinions over there.
Yeah, right. It's obvious there's some confrontation, it looks like there because of the arm.
Yeah, but just the people all around, just,
Yeah,
yeah, even the ones that are further away, everybody knows something's going on.
going on. Yeah,
It tells
That's
the
great.
story, but I'm not sure what the story is, but still you can come up with all sorts of interpretations, which makes it very interesting.
I'll
Right.
tell you what
The
tells the
nice thing
story
is-
story for me, Helen. You don't know whether it's a happy rally or not, but if you look at
Right.
the guy that has his hand in the chest of the other, the woman that's just over his left shoulder wearing the black hat, look at those eyes.
yeah.
oh, yeah, yeah.
I'm curious to know what people would think of if this was vignetted or something so that there was more focus on the guy in the middle.
Well, yeah, I guess you could do it, the number, I like, with Bill having all these people because they're all pulling you into the picture.
Yeah.
But you could also do a picture within a picture with just the people in the center.
Yeah, it's just that
I like it the way it is.
Yeah, I do too.
it's just hard to, I mean, for me, it was sort of hard to figure out what was going on at first.
Well,
And I just thought
maybe-
something like that might
maybe as an alternative, more than one version of the
Yeah.
picture. One could use a light vignette type thing around to bring the focus into the power of that guy in the front. It'd be a different kind of picture.
Right.
But I mean, I think one could do that maybe. But I like the guy over on the right by the red
Oh, yeah,
flag,
that's great.
like he's saying, like, whoa, let's not get
Yep.
started, on this whole thing. It
Yeah,
just
there are lots of pictures.
fascinating, the whole thing. but
Yeah, I think the really tight part of it is the fact that it's bringing tension
Yeah.
to the viewer. I mean,
Yeah.
when somebody has a hand on somebody's chest, that's tension.
mhm.
Yeah, and you're almost, wondering what's going to happen next.
Yes,
Excellent picture.
Yeah,
Yeah,
that's great,
it
Bill.
really is.
Bill again.
Oh,
Oh, that's great.
Yeah, this one's still in Bordeaux. I felt this one was kind of interesting because we see different emotions.
Yeah,
We see the two gals on the left enjoying, a couple drinks and conversation. And you can even see somebody in the back in the window.
yeah,
But then there's this gal here that has a whole different kind of feel to her. It's almost like maybe she's talking to somebody with some bad news,
Mhm.
where other people are enjoying themselves. She's kind of got a little different kind of slant based on
Right.
the look on her face. She's on the phone. She's leaning against the wall there. And this was actually taken while Vicky and I were having a few glasses of wine just a little ways away. And this was actually shot through plexiglass as well.
Oh, okay.
is that what the,
Yeah, you can see a reflection of a car, right, a little bit over on that, I guess it was a waitress, that's, I don't know, the one on the phone. You can see a reflection,
Oh,
looks like a car window.
So it's the opposing kind of feel from, the couple down on the left and her that I thought made it
Yeah.
interesting.
Mhm.
anything else?
Nice, great picture.
Another great picture.
if you wanted to get rid of that reflection of the car, what tool would you use, Bill?
I actually don't know.
Yeah.
You might be able to, you might be
And I
able
really
to
don't,
see-
I wouldn't want to get rid of it.
Yeah.
Do you like the reflection of the car?
I do.
Yeah.
The same way I like the reflection of the two people inside the
Yeah.
window. It adds a little dimension to it.
Right. Well, I wasn't necessarily suggesting to get rid of it. It was just more of a technical question because
Yeah.
I don't know how to do that kind of thing.
Well, D. Hayes would probably do that.
Okay.
Yeah.
Great, thanks.
Or just selective darkening that area.
Yeah.
Okay. Learn something new.
Chris.
Thank you very much.
Oh. Well, this is a selfie, surprisingly, and it's taken with my iPhone. And I discovered, probably the last person owning an iPhone since my 5S, that it has a selfie mode. Maybe that's somewhat new, but it does allow for you to take a picture with 4 people in it with some comfort. So it takes a step back from the normal width of the picture.
Mhm.
And those 2 people on the left are Forrest Greenslade and his wife, Carol Ann. They're good friends of mine and my companion, Pat Boswell there. And Forrest is well known in Farrington as an entrepreneur and a sculptor and a painter, and recently as a metallurgist and jewelry maker.
Wow.
You will see then in the next picture, not to necessarily leave this one, that one of the pieces of jewelry that I bought from him and gave to Pat. What's wonderful about this shot is that it's one of maybe 6 that I took. And you got to get people to say, no, wait a minute, I don't think that was as good as we could do, or review real fast. And I got what is probably the best selfie I've ever taken of 4 people who really look like they're enjoying themselves, whose personalities are reflected in that
Mhm.
photograph, not just the smiles, the personalities. And here is a personality par excellence of this wonderful woman that I live with part-time, who has recently had a stroke. And so I am caring for her on the one hand and enjoying her company on the other. And this is both a picture of her blemishes and all, and the jewelry pendant that Forrest made. It's an amalgam of silver and copper with some sort of mineral there in the middle that I don't remember, but he does use one as an accent in all the pieces that he does. And so I caught that in a look askance that is just wonderful and again reflects her personality.
And one of the
Beautiful
things I think
photograph.
makes this picture a really good one is the lack of depth of field, meaning the background is
Right.
fuzzy.
Correct.
I don't
And
know
as
whether
I
it was-
mentioned to you, Mike, in another email I sent you, that's because it was shot in portrait, not in the general mode, whatever you call it. And so in portrait, you automatically get that, but you can't use portrait for a heck of a lot other than these kinds of hello portrait shots. Ergo, that's where shift focus comes in on your 13 because you will be able to do that with almost any shot.
Another thing I like about it is she's not looking at the camera. She's looking to the side.
Yeah.
I think that makes it more interesting.
The look askance is what I meant.
Mhm. Can we go back to the other photograph? Because I thought that was really nice too.
Thank you.
Nice, very nice.
Because on that one, I really like the way that you and I can't remember the woman's name are leaning in. You know, it sort of draws your.
Let's define who I am. You can see me there, and then
Right.
on the far left, as I'm looking at it, is Carol Greenslade. And
Right.
yes, Patricia, we're both kind of, you got to play the game, which is you got to all kind of lean in, and
Right.
that means you're going to get close to people. I hope you enjoy.
Right. It's just the movement in it is really nice.
Oh, I was thrilled, and I've taken some really crappy cell phones, as most people do. It's tough to get personality into a selfie because people become wooden all of a sudden.
Mm.
Ellen,
Thank you for the.
Can you tell us how to find that in the iPhone? Where
Oh
that?
my God, this is a great photograph.
I'll ask you later.
Yeah.
Who's-
Who is it?
Helen, this is incredible.
I don't usually name my photographs, but that one is called I Am at the End of My Rope. I decided to take a selfie using my Canon DSLR.
Yeah.
I did not have room for a tripod. I was using harsh natural light. I couldn't adjust the camera because it was sitting in a windowsill. I sat on a chair. I sat on a bench. I stood up. I squatted. My knees went out. I shot over 40 pictures. Every muscle in my body hurt. This was the last one. And it was not what I intended. I had meant to take pictures with most of my face hidden, holding the hat up. I threw the hat on my head and says, "This does it," and started cussing. Anyway,
That's great.
It's wonderful.
It's an
It is. I
incredible
like it.
photograph, Helen.
well,
it's
you may think her next one is better. So I don't.
yeah,
And
Yeah,
Helen,
it-
on this
it
one,
made-
I get all the dynamics. The
It made me
background
realize that I
the background is a little noisy, but it actually adds some texture that I think I kind of like.
Mm-hmm.
It's
like
a
a dirty-
black, it's
Like a dirty
black,
Harry.
it's a
Go on,
black
make my day.
sheet.
Mm-hmm.
Ah,
It's a black sheet that I hung behind me and the light caught on it. I didn't realize it would. The sheet is too shiny.
yeah,
So
not noise, it is
Um,
texture.
it is texture. Yeah.
I think it's
No, in this
appropriate.
process, I determined that I looked like my grandmother did the day she died when she was 100. I took another picture. Mike,
Yeah.
that's my new beauty ensemble.
The unknown comic.
That's great.
Yeah, no, right. That's what I was trying to think of.
But back to the other one, I am going to work on it a little bit more. The other eye, the eye that doesn't quite show, I want to put that back in more of a shadow so that doesn't look so odd.
Yeah,
I don't know, I kind of like the one.
Oh, I
eye.
like it.
Yeah, I think it makes it mysterious.
Yes.
Okay.
Yeah.
And the fact that it's not tack sharp is really good too.
Yeah,
I mean, the whole image is, it's clear, but it's not tack sharp, but it just conveys a lot.
Yeah.
By
Originally, it was tack sharp. The first time since I've been a member of the club, I took a tack sharp picture and saw every freaking pore on my face,
that's right, yeah.
every wrinkle. So this has been slightly photoshopped to soften. I couldn't stand my blemishes. I'm sorry. But anyway,
But
I
it's,
did not have fun taking this picture, as you can see, because the next picture, if there'd been another one, I would have been snarling.
Yeah.
Well, Helen, whether you like taking them or not, you ended up with something really fantastic.
yeah, love them both.
you can even look into your eye. I mean,
Yeah.
that's amazing to me too.
All right,
Yeah.
Betty.
Oh,
Oh, I always hate to follow somebody's really great picture. This is walking down the street, the dog, and this little kid was up in the tree and with his brother actually. And it just begged to have somebody take the picture of it. So I did.
So glad you did.
It's an
Yeah.
iPhone picture with nothing fancy. Some post-processing afterwards to try to get the tree to stand out and give it
Yeah.
a little shape, not just a tangle of branches and stuff.
I like the tangle of branches because the kid is in there and it again, there may be a story there, I don't know.
Yeah.
But the tangle is interesting, and the fact that he has his mask on in the
Right.
tangle.
Yeah, the
the
mask.
mask ads.
And surprisingly for Betty, it's not a bird.
That's right.
But it is in a tree.
Birdman.
Bird.
Yeah, I finally got back to doing some bird stuff this last week. And I was amazed using my other camera, of course, how much sharper everything could be and whatever. But for trying to get stories and feel, that's kind of what I'm trying to do now with the iPhone. So it's almost in a way at times like a draft of maybe something I would take if I wanted sharper, but trying to work with, since I don't take people, trying to work with the feel, the story, the whatever else. And this picture, actually I put a title on it that, Salvatore Alvi, the one walking to
Yeah.
solve problems. I don't know if you ever heard that St. Augustine's quote or something in Latin, and then it's, solve problems by walking, right?
Yeah.
So this looked That's what this picture looked like to me.
And I like you went to black and white on it.
Yeah,
Yeah, I do too.
Yeah, that really adds a lot, a lot of nice tones inside that picture.
mhm,
And that he's framed in that doorway or
mhm.
the entrance at the end of I guess it's a bridge.
Yeah, it's
over
the Council on Aging over there, where we would be if we, where we-
And what's really good about this one too is that, a lot of times people will say that, well, the person should be walking into the image. But when their heads are down, when somebody looks like they're a little distraught or thinking, walking out of the image is
Yes.
very powerful.
Right, right.
Yeah.
I thought the same thing because I think it's a good case of you need to know the rules before you break them. And I
Yeah.
know Betty knows the rule that you shouldn't be walking out, but I thought it was strong that she broke the rule and has him walking out.
Mhm.
And she has something that Chris mentioned before, is about not having all four paws stuck on the ground where, one of those feet
One's lifted, yeah.
are lifted.
Adds a little motion to the picture.
Mhm.
Good
It's like I've
shot.
always used a saying that a lot of littles equal a lot. And there's a lot of little good stuff in here that really makes that a good image.
There's the line of the path that's curved, the straight
Yeah.
bridge,
Curves into them.
a lot of good stuff here.
It's interesting because, when immediately when I turned this one into black and white, I knew this is one I like, and the story was there. But it's really interesting in the group. I find it very useful as everybody mentions what they like about it or what works or what doesn't. And then all of a sudden I've got words to put on. Oh yeah, the foot in the air. Well, I do choose pictures that have the foot in the air, but I don't think about it, I guess.
Mhm.
I don't. So
Well,
thanks
and
for the words.
the shot last meeting of the person walking in front of the Christmas tree was like that as well.
Oh, that's right.
Mhm.
Yeah.
I guess I have a thing going here. Well, I'm hanging out in some pretty serious places these days with my husband and his health problems. So that's kind of what I'm seeing.
Well, I think you should continue taking pictures of people.
Yeah.
Expand from just birds, because these are wonderful.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Well, thank you.
Agreed.
Very, very good.
Yes.
Whoa.
Wow.
Tom,
Wow.
you still with us?
Who was this?
Yeah, I'm
It's
here.
got to be Tom.
The ghost
Uh,
of Christmas past.
Yeah.
That's pretty.
Okay, yeah, this was an archive picture, and actually it's a picture within a picture within a picture. I had a group picture, and I kept looking around in it for expressions, and I found this one woman, and then I made a larger photograph of her, and then I started looking at her face, and I thought, wow, that's awesome. So it was an actor, a young actor, and I was directing a Macbeth, and I wound up casting this woman as Lady Macbeth.
Hmm.
Now, all of that came after taking this picture, but she brought this quality. I don't know how many people are that familiar with Macbeth, but anyway, it's a haunting quality
Yeah,
Mhm.
that I like.
very definitely.
it's a ghost like
The
feel
eyes.
to it.
The mouth and the
Get that
nose.
What did you do to the picture to get it white and orange?
I just start into post-processing and I just keep going and going and going, and I have no idea what I did. I suppose I could go back through all of
No, that's okay.
the layers and figure it out, but I just keep going and going until I find something that surprises me.
Yeah.
Mhm.
It's cool.
It's kind of like what Betty was saying about you don't realize you're taking the raised foot, but you know when you see it that it's
Right.
interesting, worth looking at. I feel like this is a photograph that I could look at for a long time.
Yeah.
Well,
Yes.
when I downloaded it, and it popped up, I actually backed up from the screen. It does have an effect. It's nice.
I really like the eyes and mouth being red. And well, and also the red background, just the way it's all, where all the colors come together.
Good
Yeah.
shot.
Great job.
Yep.
Susan,
Great job.
Susan,
Yeah,
is this you?
Right.
that is me. And what happened was,
Oh, the library.
yeah, it's at the library. I decided, I was walking around the library taking pictures of people. And actually, a lot of people walked past me and I asked them if I could photograph them from the back because I thought they might not want their faces photographed. And you can see from the left, these people were working, these guys were working.
I'm sorry, excuse me. I only see one person in the picture.
If you look to the left, you'll
To the left, in the back,
yeah.
to the left of the picture, the
Oh,
two
no,
guys
okay.
there.
Now I see them. Somebody shifted the picture over so I could see them. Okay, great. Thanks.
Anyway, these guys were working and I just decided to take pictures of them too. And then when I got back, I realized that I had this picture of this guy. There was one picture of him waving at me because he knew I was taking a picture of him, and then he turned to the side. Anyway,
Oh, that's great. I like that.
Yeah.
You wonder who he's talking to.
With the AirPods and
Yeah.
his ear and the phone and everything.
Yeah, there's a lot of really good contrast between the foreground and the rest of the photo too.
Mm-hmm.
Yep, yep,
It's a heck of a leaf blower.
yeah,
that is.
Oh, is
There-
that what it is?
there was actually a guy running on the right. I completely edited him out. And it's a little messy on the white fence if you look where I edited him out. But anyway, and one of the other things I was playing with was shutter speed. For some reason, I just decided to play with it. So this, I got it on shutter priority and actually put this on a really high shutter speed.
Mhm. No, it's nice and clear. You got,
Mhm.
Frank,
I like the fact that the guy and the machine are really clear and the back is sort of fuzzy a little bit.
yeah,
That's cool.
Mm. Mm.
okay. All right, this is mine. This was like last week, I think it was. I went down to the village to kind of just walk around and see if I could get some, people shots. When I got out of the car, I could hear this music playing. And this was over at the Roost. The guy was over there with this, what he called a mini dulcimer.
Mm-hmm.
So he was just over there entertaining the people that were sitting around. And I just thought he seemed very interesting. So I took this image of him.
It's great.
I really like that you took it from the side. I saw him just in passing and saw him from the front. But the side shot really, I think, is good against the wall.
Yeah, that's why I wanted a complete neutral background. So that, because if I went around to the front of them, first of all, I'd be blocking the view of the people that were listening to him. And then I didn't know what I was going to get in the background. So I just wanted to do this, him against that, gray background, especially his red shirt and the red paint on the dulcimer itself coming down the side. I just thought that's a good contrast there.
Yeah, that's really
And you
fantastic.
put the
I feel like
sun
you
just in the right place too there, Frank.
Yeah, right behind him.
Yeah, because it's got the wall, has the light areas, the shadows.
It was just a great guy, because after he played we talked to him and he mentioned about, how he just started playing this. And I thought it was great. He came down to the Roost just to entertain who was ever in the village at that time. And he started to draw a crowd.
Did you cut off his feet
Huh?
did you cut off his feet during the cropping or?
Yeah, I did. I after thinking about it, I don't know, I think I just tried to, keep the dimensions on it, bringing it in on the side and up.
One of the things I really like is in some ways, his arm is a little more in focus with detail than his head. But I like that. I really like that you can see his arm and his hand. There's just something.
His right arm, right.
Yeah, I can't quite put my finger on, but I just really like that's really what's in super focus.
Good
Mhm.
I
shot,
think you
Frank.
could have taken this picture in southern Spain or something, I mean, it has that kind of quality to it.
And the wall adds a little texture to it.
Yep.
Yep.
And the
Really
fact
clever.
that his head is from the side, it seems to me front on, it wouldn't have the same attitude that the head is in his concentration. He's
Mhm.
got it tipped a little bit. It just really works. The side shot.
Good shot, Frank.
And I just stumbled on it. That was a nice thing. I've been gone around the village a lot shooting, but never really came up with anything I liked until I saw this guy doing this. Thank God I went down at that time.
Mhm.
Well, now for something
The wall is
completely different.
everything. The wall is everything. If there'd been people back there, listening, it would have been a nowhere shot,
Oh, this is great.
like this one.
Oh, that's mine. That's AJ, that's
Who would
mine.
have guessed?
I was going through a bunch of Christmas photos on my phone,
Wow.
and the expression on her face just kind of popped out at me. And I experimented a little bit with vignetting here. I don't hardly ever use that, so I thought I would play with it a little.
Oh, it's great.
Who is it?
Awesome.
My granddaughter.
Ah,
The thing
She
I
had
like,
those-
the thing I like about this AJ in particular is the background lighting.
Right.
Mhm.
And did you get there in the photograph, or was it a clone? Was it masking and a imposed background?
Yeah, I used a mask. There was a staircase behind her when I took the original photo.
That little halo is great.
yeah,
Yeah.
Yeah, I experimented around with the vignetting quite a bit.
yeah.
Mhm.
Oh.
Ah,
Oh, wow.
Yeah, this was just a little bit of Photoshop fun. I thought I'd put her in an environment that might go with her ears.
that's great.
It's a good one.
Wow, the power of Photoshop.
I
Hey,
have-
AJ, what'd you do with her eyes? What did you do with her eyes? Those are unbelievable. I mean, believable, but
I think I used a Photoshop filter on her face just a little bit
wow.
to smooth things out and make it a little more, I don't know what you'd call smooth, for the lack of anything better.
Mm.
That is great.
Creative as usual. I'm going to go back to I put one from my archive in at the bottom, but I'll go back to Mark's because he'll probably tune in looking for comments. I think he expected to be here. This is one that he took at the Renaissance Fair.
Uh-huh.
And he said this woman, I think Mark posted this on Facebook, and this woman found her own photograph on Facebook and asked for a copy of it.
Oh, okay.
Oh, speaking of Facebook, I tried to sign up for the Facebook InFocus group, but I haven't been accepted yet. Who's in charge of accepting
Me?
people into the group?
I haven't. I'll get to it, Leslie. I haven't.
No problem.
My life has not been my
No
own.
worries. Hey,
So-
no worries, really.
I really, really like the lighting on the face
Yeah.
in this one. It's
Yeah,
almost surrealistic.
he really nailed this
But-
one, I think.
Yeah,
He did. He really did.
It's really beautiful.
the contrast between the the dark costume and her face is amazing.
Yeah. Good job, Mark.
Yep. This one sort of goes with the ghost picture
Yeah.
Tom did.
The other shot is so impressive that this one kind of is a good contrast. This one just looks really, really soft to me. I like the
Mhm.
I like the composition of it. I like the fact that he got in close. I'm betting that this was taken with a pretty long telephoto and maybe some camera shake.
Yeah, it's a little
She's
soft.
looking straight at the camera. It's pretty amazing.
It's so
Probably-
plaintive and it's so plaintive and beautiful and sad. My God, it's so
Yeah.
sad.
Yeah.
And those huge red lips and those plaintive eyes. It's so sad. God, it's beautiful.
It is.
Now, if he had the chance of maybe moving positions a little bit and maybe not capturing that background, you see people's legs and bright object back there, maybe by moving around a little bit, or a little work in post-processing to dull it down a little bit.
Yeah.
Yeah.
It's interesting though, because like this one and the other one, in both cases, the backgrounds, we'd say, oh, well, that's kind of distracting and all that stuff. But I was just thinking, if, in terms of like street photography, if you're taking real life stuff, if one took away the background and everything here, and like, the background that AJ has and the power of that, it'd be a whole different picture though, wouldn't it?
Mhm.
Yeah.
This is something else, like somebody who just looked up and there's still all this stuff going around in the background. It's like it's a different picture then. Kind of have to decide what you want.
Maybe it accentuates her perceived loneliness.
Yeah.
In a crowd, he puts her in a crowd, but sadness in a crowd is touching.
But I think what adds to the loneliness or sadness feeling is the sparkle of her hair in the sunlight, her face being in shadow, and her wearing flowers. I mean, the flowers in the sunlight sort of bracket, are sort of happy things that bracket her sad face. I think it's marvelous.
I love it.
Well, I guess I'll be vain and end this with one that I took, but it's from the
Please do.
archives again. My spouse used to say that you never knew that we were on a trip together because she was never in the picture. And it's really, really true. It's really, really true. I never take pictures of people. But I had some neighbors back in Oklahoma that made me their family photographer. And that is, oh, come on. Now I want to scroll and I can't.
Such a great photo.
So
That's
Betty,
probably
do
the
you
best-
like my new background?
Oh,
Is this it?
Look,
Whoops.
This was a neighbor's son and girlfriend, and I think one of the things I have trouble with in terms of more portrait work than just street photography is posing, and I just can't do it. My deal with this family was, I'll set up, I'll take the best picture I can, but I'm not going to pose you, and this just happened. And I think one of the things,
yeah.
But it is a great pose.
Yeah, that's really great.
It is.
one of the things about this that I would make a point of is flashes, strobes are not for indoor only. And this shot would not have been what it was or is if it had not been some fill flash. I was across
Why?
the road with a media. I think it was with my 24 to 70 zoom, and the strobe was off towards the direction that they're looking, or that he's looking, I guess, and was triggered remotely to do some fill light. I think there would have been more shadows in this if I hadn't used a fill flash, but flash is not just for indoors.
How
Mhm.
far away were you when you used flash?
I'm sorry.
How far away were you from them when you used the
Well,
flash?
the flash was on its own stand, just a little bit to
Oh,
their right. I was
Oh, I see.
across the road. This happened on the road
Ah.
into our audition. I was across the road,
Okay.
so I didn't get run over. And so the flash was triggered remotely. It wasn't on my camera.
Okay. Because you have to be,
now,
I mean, the flash has to be pretty close in the outside to do the fill flash, right?
I'm
Yes.
having
Yeah, okay.
trouble hearing, Leslie. Say again.
I said, when you do fill flash, the flash has to be pretty close to the subject or it doesn't make any difference, right?
Well, it really depends on how strong the flash is. There are professional strobes that will light up a stadium almost.
Right, but I mean, if we're using them ourselves, if I'm trying to do fill photography, fill flash, whatever, I'm sorry.
Yeah.
Um,
Stop share.
That was-
Great photos.
Thanks.
Yeah, I thought
A lot, another interesting group. And I've learned something myself from them. And appreciate everything that everybody did. And just FYI, I've been putting these photos up in the order that they come in. So maybe that'll be encouragement to get these things in early, although I wasn't so busy with these that I didn't get the work done. But next meeting, and again, unless we change the plan, is going to be HDR. And there was a nod to it today from Betty. HDR is possible with the iPhone. And we're going to talk about some other ways of doing HDR, both in camera and out of camera, meaning with software.
And what does HDR stand for, please?
High definition
range, right?
What's the last word?
High dynamic range.
High
Range,
dynamic
high
range.
definition.
Yeah. I went blank. Aphasic. High dynamic range. Meaning,
High dynamic.
yeah, and meaning, and we'll get into the terms more later, but the eye is capable of seeing a whole lot more contrast than a lens is. And I think the ratio is for an eye is 1 to 10,000. That's a lot of contrast. You can see shadows with your naked eye that your camera doesn't see. It can see in highlights that your camera doesn't see. And high dynamic range is all about trying to get a photograph to the same level of dynamic range as your eye is. And there are different ways of getting there. And that's what we'll talk about next time. So any other follow-up ending
Challenge.
comments?
Is there a challenge for next time? Has anybody come up with that yet?
Steering committee. I don't remember that we have. Bill?
Nope. We were going to ask at the end of the meeting.
Thank you for the lead in. Any
Yeah, right.
ideas?
I'm just making it up as I go along.
Yeah.
I've always been a straight guy, so.
Things you find around the house. Unusual shots of things that you find around the house.
Sounds good.
Okay.
Cold out, so it's a good idea.
All right,
Unusual.
everybody good with
Unusual
that?
shots of things you find around
Yep.
the house, not unusual things you find around the house, right?
Things.
So I'm gonna
Unusual
have to get
shots.
macro, I'm gonna
Things
have to
around
get a
the house.
macro lens for dust.
That could be the theme. We could all do dust.
All right, around the
I have a
house.
knick-knack shelf full of them.
All right, thank you all. Have a good rest of your
Okay.
week.
Thank you all. See you.
Great
Thank
meeting.
you.
Okay, everybody, enjoy the rest of the week.
Yeah, absolutely. Happy New Year again to everybody.